David fled from the prophet's dormitory in Ramah, returned to Yonatan, and said, "What have I done? Where have I gone wrong? What sin have I committed that makes your father want to take my life?" Yonatan replied, "Heaven forbid! You're not going to die. Look, my father does nothing important or unimportant without telling me first. So why should my father hide this from me? It just won't happen." In response, David swore, "Your father knows very well that you have made me your friend. This is what he will say. Yonatan must not know this, or he will be unhappy. As truly as Adonai lives, and as truly as you are alive, there is only a step between me and death." Yonatan said to David, "Anything you want me to do for you, I'll do." David answered Yonatan, "Look, tomorrow is Rosh Hodesh, and I ought to be dining with the king. Instead, let me go and hide myself in the countryside until evening on the third day. If your father misses me at all, he'll say, 'David begged me to let him hurry to Bethlehem, his city, because it's the annual sacrifice for his whole family.' If he says, 'Very good,' then let your servant be all right. But if he gets angry, you will know that he has planned something bad. Therefore, show kindness to your servant. For you bound your servant to yourself by a covenant before Adonai. But if I have done something wrong, kill me yourself. Why turn me over to your father?" Yonatan said, "Heaven forbid! If I ever were to learn that my father had definitely decided to do you harm, wouldn't I tell you?" Then David asked Yonatan, "Who will tell me in the event your father gives you a harsh answer?" Yonatan said, "David, come, let's go out into the countryside." They went out, both of them, to the countryside. Yonatan said to David, "Adonai, the God of Israel, is witness. After I have sounded out my father about this time tomorrow or the third day, then, if things look good for David, I will send and let you know. But if my father intends to do you harm, may Adonai do as much and more to me if I don't let you know and send you away so that you can go in peace. And may Adonai be with you just as he used to be with my father. However, you are to show me Adonai's kindness, not only while I'm alive so that I don't die, but also after Adonai has eliminated every one of David's enemies from the face of the earth. You are to continue showing kindness to my family forever." Thus Yonatan made a covenant with the family of David, adding, "May Adonai seek its fulfillment, even through David's enemies." Yonatan had David swear it again because of the love he had for him. He loved him as he loved himself. Yonatan said to him, "Tomorrow is Rosh Hodesh, and you will be missed because your seat will be empty. The third day, hide yourself well in the same place as you did before. Stay by the departure stone. I will shoot 3 arrows to one side. If I were shooting at a target, then I will send my boy to recover them. If I tell the boy, they're here on this side of you, take them, then come. It means that everything is peaceful for you. If Adonai lives, there's nothing wrong. But if I tell the boy, the arrows are out there beyond you, then get going, because Adonai is sending you away. As for the matter we discussed earlier, Adonai between you and me forever." So David hid himself in the countryside. When Rosh Hodesh came, and the king sat down to eat his meal, the king sat at his usual place by the wall. Yonatan stood up, and Abner sat next to Shaul. But David's place was empty. However, Shaul didn't say anything that day because he thought, something has happened to him. He is unclean. Yes, that's it. He's unclean. The day after Rosh Hodesh, the second day, David's place was empty, and Shaul said to Yonatan his son, "Why hasn't Yeshai's son come to the meal either yesterday or today?" Yonatan answered Shaul, "David begged me to let him go to Bethlehem. He said, 'Please let me go because our family has a sacrifice in the city and my brother demands that I come.' So now, if you look on me favorably, please let me go away and see my brothers. That's why he hasn't come to the king's table." At that, Shaul flew into a rage at Yonatan and said, "You crooked rebel! Don't I know that you've made this son of Yoshi your best friend? You don't care that you're shaming yourself and dishonoring your mother, do you? Because as long as the son of Yoshi lives on this earth, neither you nor your kingdom will be secure. Now send and bring him here to me. He deserves to die." Yonatan answered Shaul his father, "Why should he be put to death? What has he done?" But Shaul threw his spear at him, aiming to kill. Yonatan could no longer doubt that his father was determined to put David to death. Yonatan got up from the table in a fury. He ate no food the second day of the month, both because he was upset over David and because his father had put him to shame. The next morning, Yonatan went out into the country at the time he had arranged with David, taking with him a young boy. He told the boy, "Now run and find arrows I'm about to shoot." As the boy ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. When the boy reached the place where the arrow was that Yonatan had shot, Yonatan shouted at the boy, "Isn't the arrow beyond you?" Yonatan continued shouting after the boy, "Quick, hurry, don't just stand there." Yonatan's boy gathered the arrows and returned to his master, but the boy didn't understand anything about the matter. Only Yonatan and David understood. Yonatan gave his weapons to his boy and said to him, "Go, carry them to the city." As soon as the boy had gone, David got up from the place south of the stone, fell face down on the ground, and prostrated himself 3 times. They kissed one another and wept each with the other until it became too much for David. Yonatan said to David, "Go in peace, because we have sworn, both of us, in the name of Adonai, that Adonai will be between me and you, and between my descendants and yours forever." So David got up and left. Yonatan went back to the city. David went to see Ahimelech the Kohen in Nob. Ahimelech came trembling to meet David and asked, "Why are you alone? Why is no one with you?" David said to Ahimelech the Kohen, "The king has sent me on a mission and told me not to let anyone know his purpose or what I've been ordered to do. I've arranged a place where the guards are to meet me. Now, what do you have in your hand? If you can spare 5 loaves of bread, give them to me, or whatever there is." The Kohen answered David, "I don't have any regular bread. However, there is consecrated bread, but only if the guards have abstained from women." David answered the Kohen, "Of course women have been kept away from us, as on previous campaigns. Whenever I go on a campaign, the men's gear is clean, even if it's an ordinary trip. How much more then today, when they'll be putting something consecrated in their packs?" So the Kohen gave him consecrated bread, because there was no bread other than the showbread that had been removed from before Adonai, to be replaced by freshly baked bread on the day the old bread was removed. One of the servants of Shaul happened to be there on the 3rd day, detained before Adonai. His name was Doeg and Edomi, the head of Shaul's shepherds. David said to Ahimelech, "Perhaps you have here with you a spear or a sword." "I brought neither my sword nor any other weapons, because the king's mission was urgent." The Kohen said, "The sword of Goliath, the Plishti you killed in the Elah Valley, is over there behind the ritual vest, wrapped in a cloth. If you want it, take it. It's only one here." David said, "There's nothing like it. Give it to me." The same day, David took flight from Shaul and went to Achish, king of Gath. The servants of Achish said to him, "Isn't this David king of the land? Weren't they dancing and singing with each other? Shaul has killed his thousands, and David his 10,000s." But remarks were not lost on David, and he became very much afraid of Achish, king of Gath. So as they were watching, he changed his behavior and acted like a madman. When they took hold of him, scratching marks on doors, the city gates, and drooling down his beard, Achish said to his servants, "Here, you see that this man is crazy? Why bring him to me? I'm short of crazy people. Is that why you brought this one to go crazy on me? Must I have this one in my house?" David left there and took refuge in the cave of Adullam. When his brothers and the rest of his father's family heard of it, they went down to see him there. Then all the people in distress, in debt, or embittered began gathering around him. And he became their leader. There were about 400 with him. David went from there to Mizpah of Maov and said to the king of Maov, "Please let my father and mother come and stay with you until I know what God will do for me." He presented them to the king of Moab, and they lived with him as long as David remained in his stronghold. But the prophet of Gad said to David, "Don't stay in the stronghold. Leave and go to the land of Yehudah." So David left and went to the forest of Hirath. Shaul heard that David and his men with him had been located. Shaul was sitting in Geba under the tamarisk tree in the hill, the spear in his hand, and all his servants standing around him. Shaul said to his servants standing around him, "Listen, men of Benjamin, is Yashi's son going to give any of your fields or vineyards? Is he going to make you all commanders of thousands and hundreds? Is this why you have all conspired against me? Why none of you told me when my son went out in league with Yashi's son? None of you as concerned about me? Otherwise, you have told me that my son has incited my servant to become my enemy, as he is now." Then Doeg, the Edomite, who had been put in charge of Shaul's servants, answered, "I saw Yashi's son come to Nov, to Ameliak, the son of Evituv. He consulted Adonai for him, gave him food, and gave him the sword of Goliath, the Philistine." The king sent to summon Ameliak, the Kohen, the son of Evituv, along with his father's family, the Kohen and Nov. All of them went to the king. Shaul said, "Listen here, you son of Achtuv." He answered, "Here I am, my lord." Shaul said, "Why did you conspire against me, you and Yashu's son, by giving him bread and a sword, consulting God for him? You helped him rebel against me and becoming my enemy, which now he is." Ameliak answered the king, "Is there anyone among your servants more trustworthy than David? He's the king's son-in-law. He carries out your every request. Your household honors him. I didn't start consulting God for him just today. Heaven forbid. The king shouldn't accuse me or my father's family of anything. Your servant knows nothing at all about all of this." But the king said, "You must die, you and your father's whole family." Then the king told the guards standing around him, "Go around and kill the Kohanim of Adonai, because they are siding with David, and because they knew he was escaping, yet they didn't tell me." But the king's servant refused to lift their hands against the Kohanim of Adonai. So the king said to Doeg, "You, go around, kill the Kohanim." Doeg and the Edomite went around and fell on the Kohanim, and the day killed 85 persons wearing linen ritual vests. He also attacked Nob, the city of Kohanim, with the sword, and he put to sword both men and women, children and babies, cattle, donkeys, and sheep. One of the sons of Meliak, the son of Achtuv, named Abiathar, escaped and fled to join David. Abiathar told David and Shaul had killed the Kohanim of Adonai. David said to Abiathar, "I knew it. That day when Doeg, the king of Edomite, was there, I knew he would tell Shaul. I caused the death of every person in your father's family. Stay with me. Don't be afraid, because the one who is seeking my life seeks yours too. You'll be safe with me."